Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this webinar this morning, which the EU-ASEAN Business Council is putting on in association with Swiss Re, and we'd like to thank them for their support. This morning's webinar is about promoting food security and farmers' resilience in Indonesia and the role of agricultural insurance. We have a very esteemed list of speakers and panelists today. Before we get underway, some housekeeping. For those of you that are joining as attendees, you will be muted and your cameras are off. If you wish to ask questions, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the Q&A function, and you can use that to ask questions, and I'll address them to the panel on the panel discussion. For interpretation from Bahasa to English and vice versa, at the bottom of your screens, you'll see the interpretation symbol. You can click on that and then select the language that you prefer to listen in, whether that's Indonesian Bahasa or English. Some instructions also in the chat for that this morning. So I'm Chris Humphrey. I'm the Executive Director of the EU-ASEAN Business Council. And I think to start proceedings today, it's my pleasure to invite Vincent Eck, who's the Managing Director, Head Asia Pacific for Public Sector Solutions for Swiss Re, to give the opening remarks. So Vincent, good morning to you, and over to you.
Good morning, everyone. His Excellency Minister Monoar Suarzo, esteemed representative of the Indonesian government, the Japan International Cooperation Agency, EU-ASEAN Business Councils, and ladies and gentlemen from across public and private sectors who share our interest and commitment in building resilience in the agriculture sectors and contributing to food security. Thank you for joining this webinar co-hosted by Swiss Re and the EU-ASEAN Business Council. The topic of today is protecting farmers and promoting food security in Indonesia. I think we can all agree that there's no greater challenge right now for governments than managing the impact of COVID-19 and the economic recovery. COVID-19 has called out the need for governments and businesses to think ahead and build resilience against uncertainty. We have seen multiple sectors disrupted and families displaced due to lockdown, social distancing, and severe change in supply and demand. The agriculture sectors has not been immune to this disruption. Global supply chain disruptions have affected all countries, and vulnerable farmers are further burdened with family and healthcare stressors. As the start of a food chain, farmers' resilience is critical to food security. And strengthening the agriculture segment will in turn strengthen food security and economic stability. Having said that, whilst COVID-19 preoccupies all of us, climate change has not stopped. Weather events continue to put a fiscal strains on governments, jeopardize harvest yields, and increase the volatility on farmers' earnings. Earlier this year, President Joko Widodo highlighted the risk of a food crisis, anticipating more severe drought for 30% of Indonesia due to a higher than normal dry season. Farming remains a critical contributor, not just to food security, but to Indonesia's economic stability. Exports and trades become vulnerable. If farmers cannot make a fair living, they move from the rural areas towards the city. These in turn put pressure on urban infrastructures and services, including healthcare. It is imperative for Indonesia to build resilience for this sector and position farming as an attractive and rewarding vocation. In this context, agriculture insurance programs can be a strategic economic growth tool. Insurance is recognized as a tool which provides relief after disaster and compensation after damage. But insurance can also be used as a tool to build resilience and drive sustainable economic growth by de-risking enabling sectors such as agriculture. Government insurance programs can transfer this risk to a third party and provide access to funds that help restore infrastructures, minimize disruptions, and provide farmers with economic stability. By using insurance solutions to reduce risk and volatility, farming revenues are more consistent and the sector becomes more attractive to investors and to the next generation. Furthermore, when such safety nets are in place, farmers will be motivated to adopt more sustainable and environment-friendly practices. Effective partnerships between the Indonesian government and the private sector is key to this outcome. Public-private cooperation will widen farmers' access to appropriate protections and contribute to national food security. The private sector brings innovation, technology, and skills that can be distributed at scales through public sector channels, which enables ultimately participation of as many smallholder farmers as possible. This is why Swiss Re has partnered with the EU-ASEAN Business Council to organize the Today webinar to talk about the role of insurance in protecting farmers and promoting food security in Indonesia. We have brought together leaders from both the public and the private sector to exchange insight on the implication of COVID-19, the climate change, and share thoughts on how to sustainably mitigate the risk that these uncertainties generate on food security and resilience in Indonesia. Amid an increasing volatile environment, innovative agricultural insurance solutions such as index cover can be an effective tool for smallholder farmers to protect their yields against weather events and other perils that destroy their crops. In this case, cash payouts are triggered by an agreed event rather than waiting for an assessment of loss, which can take weeks, sometimes months, after a catastrophic natural event. Satellite remote sensing, mobile technology, use of area yields indexes provide more efficiency in damage assessment and support higher insurance penetration ultimately. Later this morning, during the panel session, Mel He, our head of Agriculture Asia, will tell us more about where the implementation of such solutions has empowered farmers to manage uncertainties and contributed to both the national food security and the growth of the food sector. Such successful programs are dependent on the government support. As a global reinsurer, we see the progress and the benefits that other countries have achieved with the right endorsement and the right enablement of their government. And you really welcome the opportunity to work in an environment that facilitates such innovation and cooperation over the long term. Our report, released in September last year, supported by JICA and some various government institutions, show that successful agriculture schemes have certain particularities in common. First of all, they have sustainable pricing and underwriting models, which are revised annually and adjusted to meet the changing production rates and needs of the country. Secondly, they all work with international reinsurers to access the expertise and the technology, particularly when it comes to loss assessment and claims handling procedures. Finally, they use reinsurance to expand and strengthen programs to diversify local risk to the international reinsurance markets and thus reduce the risk borne by the local economy while clearly strengthening countries' resilience to external shocks. These are all areas where we can provide our experience and technology to design a highly effective insurance program that provides economic growth for Indonesia. Swiss Re is here to help. Global uncertainties remain, and COVID-19 is still with us for some time. These uncertainties will continue to increase with climate risk, and so we need to ensure that robust risk management programs are in place. Swiss Re has been providing risk transfer solutions for over 150 years, and we want to work with the Indonesian government and the agriculture sector to build a similar legacy, simply ensuring sustainable food security and resilient economic growth for Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. for those nice opening words there and setting the scene for why insurance is very important for the agricultural sector going forward. Indeed, a difficult year this year, and it's a sector which is always a difficult one for the people working within it as well. We'll move on now. We are delighted to have a keynote speech now from His Excellency Suharto Monoarfa, who is the Minister for National Development and Planning, Bappenas in Indonesia, and he'll be setting the scene about empowering Indonesia's agricultural sector to weather through uncertainties. So we'll move to that video address now, please.
Distinguished representative of Indonesia government, distinguished representative of EU-ASEAN Business Council, representative of Swiss Re, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let us praise and thank God, the Almighty, for providing us good health and opportunity to be able to attend the webinar of protecting farmers and promoting food security in Indonesia for sustainable development. Today, we will discuss on several initiatives to assist business through these extraordinary times and develop ideas for post-pandemic economic recovery together with the Asian Business Advisory Council and other business councils. Our highest appreciation goes to the EU-ASEAN Business Council and Swiss Re, who makes this event possible for all of us here. Currently, all countries are experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic. These conditions affect food availability and the welfare of our farmers. The government of Indonesia is trying to strengthen our national food security to respond with the possibility of food crisis caused by COVID-19 impact. Agriculture insurance and risk management are important instruments for ensuring food availability and farmers' welfare. In addition, local food industrialization, stabilization of food access, strengthening of cooperation, and food aid are also important parts in realizing a sustainable national food system. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in Presidential Decree number 18 of 2020 concerning the National Medium-Term Development Plan, there are 7 national priorities, where the first priority is strengthening national economic resilience for quality growth. This national priority consists of several activities with focus to establish the condition of increasing food availability, access, and quality of food consumption. Agriculture insurance would be a major intervention to maintain sectoral and farmers' productivity. Since 2015, we allocated about $38.9 million for premium subsidy covering 3.5 million hectares. The total number of beneficiaries was 5.7 million farmers. For the next 5 years, we indicate a larger national budget covering 5 million hectares in line with developing the new scheme such as the Area Yield Index Insurance. Agriculture insurance is mandated by Law number 19 of 2013 concerning protection and empowerment of farmers, particularly Article number 37, which explains that the government and regional government to protect farmers in the form of agriculture insurance. Through agriculture insurance, it can help farmers in dealing with the problems of crop failure and climate change adaptation. The rule is also relevant with commitment from government of Indonesia to achieve the sustainable development goals, especially both of goal number 2, zero hunger, and goal number 13, climate action. Our policy to implement agriculture insurance to support the objective to reach more better farmers' terms of trade for their products. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, today there will be a panel discussion bringing together leading public sector stakeholders in Indonesia and Swiss Re, experts on agriculture insurance to discuss the implication of COVID-19 and climate change on the agriculture sector, particularly in relation to food security and farmers' resilience, and share perspective on how the insurance industry can play an important role as enabler to reduce business risk for agri-food farming operation. We hope that this discussion can provide policy recommendation and action plan. Finally, again, we would like to thank EU-ASEAN Business Councils and Swiss Re who arranged and facilitate this important webinar. For all panelists, speakers, and participants, we believe that your active participation will bring result in actionable recommendation to improve farmer welfare through agriculture insurance and develop our sustainable national food system. Thank you. Stay safe and healthy.
Thank you, Minister, for those words there. A number of key points, I think, in what he was saying there about the need to increase food production, availability and quality, but also to make sure that farmers have the right level of protection against climate change and crop failure through agricultural insurance. And that sets us up nicely now for our panel discussion on sustainability de-risking for food production and farmers' incomes going forward. We have a very distinguished panel with us today. We will kick off shortly with a video message from Dr. Arifin Rudianto, who's the Deputy Minister for Maritime Affairs and Natural Resources at Bappenas. And then joining us from Bappenas for the panel discussion will be Pak Anang Nogoro Setio Moljono, who's the Director for Food and Agriculture at Bappenas. We'll also then have Ibu Ika Purwani, who's the Head of the Subdirectorate for Capital Empowerment and Agricultural Insurance at the Ministry of Agriculture, Ibu Farika Indah Arika, who's a policy analyst at the Center for Climate Change Finance and Multilateral Policy in the Fiscal Policy Agency at the Ministry of Finance. We have Mahiko Sato-san, who is from the Economic Development Department at the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, joining us from Tokyo this morning. And finally, we have Mel Hay, who is the Head of Agricultural Reinsurance Asia at Swiss Re. So good morning to each of you. We will start first of all, I think, with the video message from Dr. Arifin Rudianto, who's the Deputy Minister for Maritime Affairs and Natural Resources at Bappenas. So if we could play that video, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Our colleagues from the Government of Indonesia, representative of Japan International Cooperation Agency (JICA), representative of European Union ASEAN Business Council, and representative of Swiss Re. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let us praise and thank God Almighty for providing to us good health and opportunity to be able to attend the webinar on protecting farmers and promoting food security in Indonesia for sustainable development. Our presence here shows our strong commitment in promoting food security and realizing the protection and empowerment of farmers through agricultural insurance. Ladies and gentlemen, in this panel discussion, I would like to emphasize three concerns that come into our plans regarding the development of agriculture insurance in Indonesia. First, as His Excellency Minister Suharto Mono Arfa mentioned, agriculture insurance is mandated on Law Number 19 of 2013 concerning protection and empowerment of farmers on Article 37 and Presidential Decree number 18 of 2018 concerning the National Medium-Term Development Plan 2020-2024 or RBGMN 2020-2024. Agriculture insurance became an instrument in improving farmers' welfare, which indicated by the target of farmers' term of trade of 103 and 105, and income of farmers around 59.9 million rupiah, around 4,600 US dollar per year in 2024. To boost the implementation of agriculture insurance, Bappenas will lead the formulation of Presidential Decree on Agriculture Insurance. There are at least 7 norms that are planned to be discussed in the Presidential Decree, namely definition of agriculture insurance, which further lead to objective and activities of agriculture insurance itself. Scope of the Presidential Decree, agriculture insurance scheme use, formation of the National Committee, strengthening blended financing, action plan and roadmap, and lastly is monitoring and evaluation. Second is how we strengthen the implementation of agriculture insurance in Indonesia. The existing scheme using indemnity-based insurance has implemented since 2012 for padi rice. Asuransi Usaha Tani Padi or AUTP compensate actual individual crop damage due to the risk of flooding, drought, and attack by plant pests. Started from this year, we are planning to run a pilot project of area yield index insurance in West Java province. This type of insurance compensate an expected yield in a certain area, not an individual yield. Then all participants within area whose yield are lower than a predetermined index can be paid for the loss. We can further develop it into one of option for agricultural insurance in Indonesia. Bappenas, cooperating with line ministries and JICA, is conducting project of capacity development for the implementation of agricultural insurance in Indonesia. The project is directed to achieve 3 main outputs, which are formulation of the platform and digitalization of agricultural insurance, training for officers and extension workers, and study of area yield index insurance. Lastly, is how we could enhance national policy related to institutional, regulatory, financial, and operational framework. The framework emphasizes strong cooperation from all parties including government, private sector, industry, and farmers itself. As I mentioned before, that recently we are still developing scheme of agricultural insurance. The insurance industry has an important role in the future. Higher farmer participation in paddy insurance from 0.4 million in 2015 to 1.6 million in 2019, and increasing Indonesia agri-food production to fulfill national and global demand will be a potential market for insurance industry. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, finally, we would like to deliver our highest appreciation for all participants and parties who have been promoting food security through agriculture insurance. We hope that this webinar can provide real insight to improve national policy of agriculture insurance. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arifin Rudianto, for those words there. We'll move on now to the panel discussion, and I think we'll be kicking off with Ibu Ika Purwani from Ministry of Agriculture, who has some slides to take us through about the Ministry of Agriculture's views on helping farmers and improve food production within Indonesia. Ibu Ika, if I can pass the baton to you, if you can unmute yourself and turn your video on, please, and then we'll share the slides and we'll take them through. Ibu Ika?
Hello.
Halo.
Yes, we can hear you now very clearly. Thank you. Your slides are on screen, so if you just let us know when you want to move them on.
Baik,
Thank you.
terima kasih. Baik, terima kasih.
Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum, greetings, good morning, and may peace be upon us all. Distinguished participants from the government of the Republic of Indonesia who are here today, the EU-ASEAN Business Council and Swiss Re. Thank you very much. We appreciate you for organizing today's webinar. On behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture, my name is Ika Purwani. I am here to represent Mr. Director General Sarwo Edi, DG of Agriculture, Infrastructure and Facilities of the Ministry of Agriculture. He extends his apologies for not being able to attend today's meeting because he is currently attending a food estate event in Central Kalimantan. Distinguished participants, panelists of today's webinar, on behalf of the Directorate General of Agricultural Infrastructure and Facilities, Ministry of Agriculture, I would like to share with you a presentation about protecting farmers and promoting food security in Indonesia and the role of agriculture insurance. The work that we have done in the Ministry of Agriculture in the past 5 years are supported through the legal framework, which includes laws and government regulations. The work that we have done for this includes law, next slide please, about the protection, law number 19 of 2013 on the protection and empowerment of farmers. In Article 37, it states that central and local government are mandated to protect agriculture business through insurance to protect from harvest failures and its related losses. What we have now currently is an indemnity-based insurance, which is to provide coverage for losses. We also provide for cattle livestock insurance. In Article 38 of this law, law number 19 of 2013, it states that the central and local governments, in accordance with their authorities, must mandate state-owned or locally owned enterprises to implement insurance for agriculture. In Article 39, it states that the government and local governments must facilitate for farmers to become participants in agriculture insurance. Next slide. The insurance schemes that we have implemented, as I have mentioned, are insurance for food crops, horticulture, and livestock. Payment is done through premium, whether independent or subsidized. by the government. From 2015, the Indonesian government has implemented the AUTP, or the paddy farming insurance, and also insurance for cattle or buffalo livestock. The implementation, based on the regulation of the Ministry of Agriculture, is through premium payment or independently. This includes partnerships, cooperations, and local budgets. Next. The insurance that we have done in the past 6 years for the rice paddy and livestock insurance, for the premium for the AUTP is 180,000 rupiah per hectares per planting season, with coverage of 6 million rupiah per hectare. This is based on the ministry's regulation. The farmers has to pay 20% or 36,000 per hectare with assistance or subsidy of 80% of 144,000 per hectare per planting season. The coverage includes the coverage in this insurance scheme covers flood, drought, and pests. We have also done insurance for cattle and livestock or buffalo. The premium is 200,000 rupiah per animal per year. The coverage includes, the premium comprises 20% from the farmers or 40,000 rupiah per animal, with government subsidy of 80% or 160,000 per animal per year. The coverage includes death or loss of livestock. If the animal dies from giving birth to its young, the coverage is 10 million per animal. If the animal dies and then is slaughtered, the coverage is 5 million rupiah per animal. For losses, the coverage is 7 million. Next slide.
Adapun realisasi
The realization of the implementation of AUTP from 2015 to 2020 is illustrated here. In 2015, we began this program on October, the third week of October, with a target at the time of 1 million. The achieved implementation, because the work was only done in 2 months, we covered 233,000 hectares with a number of farmers' participation of 401,408 farmers. In the beginning of the AUTP implementation, we worked with 16 provinces, comprising 125 districts and municipalities. In 2016, from the 1 million hectare target for rice paddy, the area increased. In 2016, with AUTP, we covered 499,961.95 hectares, with a total number of 917,000 farmers covered. From 16 provinces in 2016, we were increased to 23 provinces and 235 districts and municipalities. So that was the achievement in 2016. In 2017, the participation in the area covered, the number of farmers and provinces increased, with a total area of 997,960 hectares. covered in the insurance scheme. The number of farmers participating increased to 1,550,000 farmers in 27 provinces. In 2018, the number of participants decreased. At the time, we faced extensive drought. So areas outside of irrigation, they could not plant rice as they did in 2017. So this was during a long drought. So the number of participants declined from 900,000 to 806,000. Sorry, this is the area covered, 806,000 hectares. The number of farmers decreased to 1,297,000 farmers in 24 provinces and 217 districts and municipalities. In 2019, the number of participants increased. The total paddy farm area covered became 971,000 hectares. And the number of farmers participating was 1,380,000 farmers in 28 provinces and 236 districts and municipalities. In the current pandemic that we are facing in 2020, where people began to work from home and we had restricted travels, the area covered increased to 1 million hectares. And our target was 1,000. There were actually higher participation than that, but we were able to accommodate 1 million hectares. The number of farmers was 1,367,000 in 29 provinces. Next slide. For the cattle and buffalo livestock insurance that we implemented from 2016 to 2020, in 2016, the target livestock was 120,000 animals. But in 2016, because we began this program late in the year, we achieved coverage for 20,000 animals involving 12,285 farmers in 19 provinces and 102 districts. In 2017, the number of participants increased from the previous year. The number of animals increased to 92,176 livestock with 63,592 farmers in 27 provinces and 292 districts. In 2018, participation decreased to 88,673 livestock. In 2018, we began the work with buffaloes as well. We included buffaloes here. We worked with 53,000 farmers in 27 provinces and 292 districts. In 2019, participation for the cattle and buffalo livestock insurance increased from the previous year. From the 120,000 livestock target, the number of livestock covered in 2019 was 140,190 livestock, with 66,861 farmers, still in 27 provinces. However, the number of districts declined to 280 districts. This year, with the current COVID pandemic, we have allocated the target from the Ministry of Agriculture of 120,000 livestock. We were able to provide coverage for 120,000 livestock. The number of farmers participating is 55,692 farmers in 29 provinces and 276 district and municipalities. In 2019, the number of farmers declined. Sorry, in 2020, the number of farmers declined from previous years because there was an agreement between the ministry and the farmers that they could register more of their livestock from 10 animals to 15 animals. So in 2020, farmers can register up to 15 animals for the insurance scheme. Next. There are some challenges that we face in implementing the agro insurance, both for the rice paddy farming and livestock from 2015 to 2016. The challenges include that farmers still have low awareness for insurance. Specifically for AUTP, farmers have better understanding in selecting which plots of lands are insured. Areas that do not, for farm plots that rarely experience harvest failure, it's very difficult for us to get them to cover those areas. It's been challenging for us to get them to shift the agriculture risks that are caused either from pests or impacts of climate change. Secondly, and the next challenge is infrastructure for digitalizing the program. This includes challenges that the human resources, not all of the staff are familiar with using technology. And what's even more challenging, not all of the farms can be accessed with internet. Another challenge in the digital infrastructure is the lack of devices to support program digitalization. We have used the app called the Agriculture Insurance Information System, or CIAP. This information system helps us to monitor the actual participation, also for the premium payment of 80%, and to facilitate coordination. Through the CIAP application, we can help monitor up-to-date implementation. So this is real time. If we monitor the CIAP app, we can coordinate and we can accelerate the protection provided to farmers, whether these are livestock farmers or rice paddy farmers. Another challenge is the COVID-19 that we face in 2020. In several areas, we have in certain areas, our staff have limited movements because of the restrictions, social restrictions. So it's very difficult for them to reach farmers to file claims because of the large-scale social restrictions. A number of stakeholders on the ground and farmers group have complained that claim payments still do not meet the guidelines issued by the ministry. That is the next challenge. For 2021, we will try to eliminate this, this lack of synergy. We are building an app called Protan, or crop protection, to facilitate claim filings, to payments, to help the payments for the implementation partners. This will help to monitor, to see what are the documents that has to be filed. These can be monitored through the Protan app, and payment claims can also be monitored to the farmers. Our staff from the ministry uh, can can oversee the payment of claims. We hope to begin to implement this in 2021. This is for areas that can be, these are for areas that has internet access. However, for areas or livestock farms that do not have internet coverage, we will conduct the claims and we will continue to facilitate them through the CAP information system manually. These are some of the challenges that we face in agriculture insurance. Next. Is this it? Okay. These are some of the activities. The Minister of Agriculture, in his visit, he is highly interested in the coverage and the protection for farmers. He here he handed over insurance policies. This is the symbolic awarding of the insurance claim. So these are some of the activities. That is all from me today. I apologize if there are shortcomings in our presentation. I believe we can follow up with discussions later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ibu Ika. And actually, that was a very detailed and a very thorough presentation. And I think some pretty impressive growth in terms of getting the insurance coverage out there, despite the challenges that you just mentioned. And of course, bigger challenges this year with COVID-19 as well. I'll turn to Ibu Farika now from Ministry of Finance. And like to ask Ibu Farika, please, perhaps you can just give us some idea about what some of the near-term policies and programs devised by the Ministry of Finance are to help manage risks in the agricultural and food production sector, and indeed help improve the income of smallholder farmers, particularly as a result of climate change issues.
Terima kasih Pak Kris atas kesempatannya. Senang sekali.
Thank you, Pak Chris. I am very happy to be able to join today's discussion, where we are discussing quite a strategic issue. To chime in from what we've heard from the previous speakers, from Mr. Vincent, from the minister, food security is critical. This is linked to health, economy, resource management, property, and these are also linked to climate issues, population, market volatility, disasters, etc. In the national policy, food security is very critical as well. It is part of the SDGs. As with other countries, many SDG targets are linked to food security. And our policies as well are in line with SDG targets. For example, no poverty. For Indonesia's case, farmers are groups of low income, also zero hunger, climate change, and other goals. Nationally, food security is part of our national priority. In the Indonesia's medium-term development plan for 2020 to 2024, we have 7 national priority programs, 2 of which overlap with food security issues. Economic development must be achieved through good management of resources, including agriculture resources. This includes food needs, energy, water, natural resources, all of that is included. And then our national agenda to improve resilience to climate change impact. And in this program, food security is also one of the priority. In the climate change program, we have a commitment in the Paris Agreement where we have 29 to 41% commitment for emission reduction based on business as usual scenario. However, we also we are trying to become more resilient towards climate change. This includes economic resiliency, ecosystem resiliency, and supporting system resiliency. Food security is closely linked to economic resiliency. Now, what about the current food security condition? Based on the Global Food Security Index, Indonesia is ranked 62 out of 113 countries. This is not a very good position. Based on the National Food Security Index that looks at 3 aspects, namely availability, affordability, and utility of foods, we see a gap there where the low food security index is also unequal in the sense that certain areas have better quality, but other areas need a lot of improvement. Out of 416 districts, 17% and 5% of cities still require prioritizing for programs related to food vulnerability. Also, the indications, I mean, if we look at policies, we have to look at the details, such as what are the indicators in local areas. In the districts, we have the high ratio of per capita consumption, high stunting numbers, high numbers of of the poor. These shows a difference. There is a difference in cities. In cities, we can see the higher expenditure for foods, and there's more. It's more related to link to water infrastructure, high number of children in households. So the characters are different for each areas, especially between districts and cities. The challenges that we face are many, such as shrinking farmlands, increased number of population. I think that's a general challenge faced by several countries. Technology as well, because Indonesia is still a developing country. And also, what's highly relevant to today's discussion is if we look at farmers and their capacity and welfare, they still have poor welfare. If we look at the statistics for poor population in Indonesia, we have 25.95 million poor people. If we break this further down, the source of income from these poor households, these are people in the farming sector, agriculture sector. That's 50% of them. The jobless is about 14%, but the poor households from farming is about 50%. If we look at their education level, we believe that this is one of the indicators for equality, to improve the equality. Their education is still very low. Those who have reached elementary school education is about 37%. And those that those that completed elementary school is 37%. Those that did not finish elementary school is also about 37%. So as we can see that we really need to help to provide support for farmers. If we're talking about fiscal policy for climate change, our concern from the ministry, from the central government, our concern is that there is a great need for financial support for assistance. The need for financing is very high. We need to be able to optimize financing resources. If we can list what are the sources of climate finance, we can classify them between public, private, and international financing. Therefore, the focus of our policies can be classified into four. The first is, of course, budget allocation through government budget. And we're not only making sure that there is budget allocation, but we need to make sure that the allocation is efficient. And we have climate budget tagging. This helps to track which of the budget, where are they going to, so that we can provide reference for the government to evaluate whether or not this is already efficient to achieve the expected outputs of the development plans. We also ensure that we can build our capacity. We have the Green Sukuk policy that we have developed, and investors are quite appreciative of this. Other policies is subnational strengthening. Of course, the central government, the national government cannot do this all by themselves. Climate change is also closely linked to local governments' jurisdictions. We understand that local subnational governments have limitation, so we have to support them. One example is through fiscal transfer based on incentives or general fiscal transfers. We also try to engage the private sector. We have several policies regarding taxes, financial platforms, and providing other facilities. We also try to create or to channel funds from international sources of financing, such as adaptation funds, global environment facility, or through bilateral, multilateral schemes, or MDBs. Our financing platform also, in addition, we also have the environmental fund managing agency. Environmental Fund Managing Agency. We are working on this. They are collecting various sources of finances from philanthropical sources, investments. We want to optimize all these sources of finance nationally. From the budget allocation, climate finance is quite huge, 3 to 5% of the annual budgets. Even though this is a large percentage, this is not enough to meet the needs of climate change financing. If we calculate based on the needs, we can only finance 35 to 40% of all mitigation needs. That's just mitigation, not adaptation. If we compare to the needs for, I mean, that's very little if we compare with adaptation and mitigation. Ministerial budget is also very high, 41 to 70 trillion rupiah per year. And we see increasing trends. In addition, we also try to use other instruments such as subsidy by providing fertilizers, seedlings, food subsidies, and interest. However, that's not available always. It's not always available every year. We conduct routine periodic reviews. We have subsidy for seeds right now, but if in the future that needs to be improved or if we need to focus on other areas, then we can adjust. We are pretty flexible with the latest conditions. For reserve spending, so not only reserve, so reserve also to ensure price stability. Also, I explained earlier about fiscal transfer. We have for irrigation, marine and fisheries, and also for services. Now, what about the insurance? Insurance is one of the instruments, one of the tools for us to protect farmers to protect farmers from climate change impacts, not only climate change. As we know, this is not a standalone issue. Many are actually, many of the issues is actually poverty. We have high number of poor households in Indonesia, and majority of these poor population are farmers. These are farmers with very small farmland. Not all small farmers live below the poverty line, but the majority of these poor farmers are farmers with very small lands. To underline what Bu Ika said, but I want to speak in a more general aspect, is protecting farmers from harvest failure. Harvest failure because of pest attack, natural disaster, infectious animal diseases, climate change impacts, and other risks as stipulated in ministerial regulations. The current scheme is 80-20. The premium, so 80% is from subsidy, 20% is paid from farmers, self-paid. So the premium is 120,000 rupiah per hectare with coverage of 6 million rupiah per hectares. The focus are farmers with areas with farmlands of below 2 hectares. As Bu Ika mentioned earlier, there are several main points here. What we need to work on is implementation. There's still low level of implementation. Based on our studies in several pilot sites, the implementation is only about 30% of target. The realization is still very low compared to the actual opportunities. Based on this study, there are several reasons why implementation is very low. First of all, because the target group cannot afford to cover the premium, even though we already have the 80-20 premium scheme. 20% premium is still very difficult for farmers to afford, those who are still struggling to provide for themselves every day. For these farmers, the services provided by the insurance scheme, the current insurance scheme, is not that appealing because the coverage does not it does not provide total coverage. The minimum coverage is limited, and also the farmers' mindsets, they need increased literacy. Also, because they feel that the claim process is too long. Another possible reason is that the AUTP scheme depends on UPSUs, or like special measures. These are incentives for farmers to participate in agriculture insurance. And then specifically for disaster-prone areas, the risk is too high for insurance. My conclusion here is that agriculture insurance is strategic because it's linked to poverty alleviation, food security, and also it's closely linked to disasters. As we know, Indonesia has quite high risk of disasters. This is also linked to financial inclusion. That this might be a little tricky because the target group, uh, in addition to having low financial literacy, they also have low levels of education. How do we design good literacy here? In my opinion, we need to review agriculture insurance to ensure higher participation. Maybe we can use other schemes. I was happy to hear with Bu Ika and the minister that we are currently conducting piloting for the new insurance scheme. I hope that farmers are more willing to accept the new scheme. Also, I believe that agriculture insurance is not a standalone policy. It is linked to literacy, education, and also programs. For example, disaster management programs. These are programs that can be linked and synergized. So I think that is all for me. Pak Chris, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu. And I think you've done a great job there of highlighting the importance that agriculture plays in helping meet SDGs, and particularly in alleviating rural poverty and protection of the environment and zero hunger as well. And you also highlighted, as indeed Ika did, about some of the challenges of extending agricultural insurance out. I'd like to turn to Mel Hay, if I can, from Swiss Re, and actually ask you if you can perhaps give us your view as an expert in agricultural underwriting for insurance in the region about what some of the innovations are that we can bring to agricultural risk management, and indeed how we can start address some of the challenges that you heard from Ibu Ika and Ibu Frika there. I mean, challenges around premiums being too high, not enough coverage, challenges around making sure we can deal with climate change financing, and indeed encouraging the farmers to participate a lot more in the systems.
Yep. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for the question. So first of all, also thanks for EU-ASEAN Business Council and also all the participants here for supporting the webinar today. Maybe just before I answer the question, just a quick introduction. So my name is Mel. I'm currently responsible for agricultural insurance in Swiss Re in the region. I think I will not repeat the importance of agricultural insurance as a tool to help on the food security part. So actually by end of 19, we see the world reached 8 billion population already. So I think the food security is getting more and more important. In the meantime, we see, this year due to COVID-19, I think, the ladies from IMO has pointed out already. So we see certain challenges on the loss assessment for the agricultural insurance as well. So with that, I think the agricultural insurance industry really needs by leveraging the technology to further improve the efficiency. Under such kind of a situation, I think the pandemic will be there, and it's about the severity. And I think we also need to have a sustainable solution for for such kind of situation. If we look at Indonesia as a country, I think 15% of the GDP is from agriculture industry. So I think to protect this industry, agriculture insurance is very important. And also in the meantime, I think the leaders from IMOF has pointed out, I think there's a large population is also working in the rural sector. So actually to have agriculture insurance is also helping such larger group of population as well. Speaking of that, actually, I have to say congratulate to Indonesia as a Indonesia government as a country, because if you look at the track record for this market, the whole country now, I think there are 30 provinces has agriculture insurance already in the past, just by using 5 years time. So it's a very good progress. Also, IMOA and Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Finance are also supporting the agriculture insurance. If you look at the agriculture insurance innovation, I would say we can look at the business model innovation and also product innovation. I will start from business model innovation, because we hear we hear that the farmers' risk awareness is low. We hear that the infrastructure on digitalization is challenging. We hear that the farmer is too poor to afford 20% of premium subsidy. Actually, I think it would be very difficult to have one kind of scheme to cover all the points. So my suggestion will be set up different layers of coverage to tackle different challenge, because we'll have on the for example, like the first layer of the coverage for all the poor farmers for poverty alleviation purpose, because the need will be not only on the impact from climate change, but we'll also have the health challenge, the education challenge, and also the farmers' activity challenge. So I think this large group of people to provide a coverage, so the purpose or the coverage will be different. It will be quite spread out, but I think the sum insured could be low, just to help farmer have a basic cover. And the second layer, I would say would be to target the relatively rich farmer with a large farmland. They produce good quality of food. Their life rely on the farmland's income, and they have a good awareness. So they request for a higher level of coverage. And the top layer will be for the government. So the insurer could be the government, like a Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Finance. In case of a large systematic risk, like a large typhoon, we have seen that from 2020, the typhoon Gongki, and also the large systemic flood. So for such kind of scenario, our government also has a responsibility to provide a fiscal budget risk transfer to help the farmers and people on the ground. So the government can be the insurer, and also the insurance industry can provide a more professional type of a cover to one side to leverage the financial insurance as a financial tool to distribute the claim. Another side also give governments a very professional formula to distribute the money to the people who may need. Because we can design the program from more like risk perspective in a more professional way. In the meantime, we also talk about the product. I think in general there's no perfect product in the world to match all the needs. It depends on what type of farmer we are talking about, what type of crop we are looking at. I think for Indonesia, we see the rice is the majority of the major crop. I think the current indemnity base definitely is progressing well. Also, we hear there's a certain challenge. The area yield index product, basically cover all the perils. So no matter is the risk from NatCat, the risk from pests, from hail, everything can be covered. But the disadvantage of this business model is the claim payout procedure will be long. Because think about the area yield index, we need to have the yield data first, and then we calculate the payout. So we need people to calculate the yield. underground. So that takes time. And we need to get the claim payout after the season. I think it's good financial support for the farmer if there's something goes wrong post-season. But if something goes wrong during the growing period, I think this cover cannot, area yield index cannot cover. But once again, it covers all payrolls. If you look at it, we would like to provide a financial support during the growing period to help the farmer to, do a replantation to buy the seed and then replant again. I think the weather index might be a good approach, because the weather index can really make a very fast payout. We design the product based on the weather parameter, but for such kind of product, it requires a long time series of daily weather data. I think the weather data usage can be further extended to the agriculture insurance industry as well, not only for the weather forecasting. If we don't have the weather data, I think we can also better leverage the remote sensing technology. So remote sensing technology can cover both, the area yield index challenge in terms of, human interaction to go to the field to do an underground assessment, and also weather forecasting or weather parameter setup. Also, we see the challenge in Indonesia that, the digitalization and also the digitalization infrastructure is challenging. I think the remote sensing technology can also help on that, because there's a lot of public data available in the world. I think, for example, NASA and also other countries has, shared open data to the world. So by leveraging the observation from the satellite, we can design a good program for the country as well. In the meantime, we also hear that, from Ministry of Finance saying that, the insurance program is for certain area, the risk is very high, and the insurance company may not, be willing to invest capacity there. I think it's true. If we look at the insurance across the whole world, I think, first of all, most of the successful agriculture insurance market, government provides, 70–80% premium subsidy. So government support is key. Secondly, we see a failed case in many countries if, let's say, the country or the government treat agriculture insurance as a charity approach, and the insurance industry cannot be sustainable. We can do that in 1 year or 2 years, but in the long term, as the financial sector, so I think no one can really support that in a mid to long term. In the meantime, if you look at agriculture insurance as a risk management tool, so this industry also need to grow sustainably. So with that, I think, to have a good collaboration among private sector, government, also farmer is very important. And also in the meantime, the product design is key to make sure the insurance program and insurance company can run in a sustainable way. But also more importantly, the risk can be diversified and transferred globally. So I think that's how reinsurance industry can play a very important role. If there's a very high risk happening in one location, that will be very painful for that location. But if we transfer the risk to a global geography, so that kind of high risk can be diversified. So I think with that, I think this kind of a collaboration also for reinsurance industry also needs to have an important role in the PPP collaboration for the agriculture insurance industry. Last but not least, I think you may see from the news that Swiss Re recently has been awarded by Singapore MAS for a FinTech Festival Award. So Swiss Re has developed agriculture insurance risk management platform. So this platform covers basically provide two functions. One is the weather index product design and automation. So the product can be designed in an automatic way, just 1 or 2 minutes by inputting basic information. And also the claim payout can be also generated automatically. So this really improves the efficiency of a claim payout. Second function is really by leveraging the weather data and also remote sensing data to provide a real-time crop monitoring index. So by having such kind of monitoring index and also visualization, the insurance company, farmer, and the government can have a real-time situation for the crop growing situation on the ground, and government and also industry can actively take certain action for the risk management, for the risk prevention, to support the better harvest. So this index and also indicator also provide a quantified number for the insurance company for a better and also more professional loss assessment. But also here, from MOA and MOF saying that, sometimes farmers are not convinced for the insurance industry's claim payout. I think to have a quantified number to show which area the loss is high, which area loss is low, that's important, for the insurance industry to convince the farmer to make sure the claim payout is professional and also this can be tracked.
Thanks, Mel. I'd like to bring in Mihiko-san in Tokyo, as you've been waiting very patiently on this webinar. And perhaps I could just ask you, I know JICA's been doing a lot of work on agricultural insurance and on food security issues in Indonesia and indeed across Asia as well. Perhaps you could just outline for us some of the things you're doing with Indonesia in this area and perhaps some of the best practices on promoting PPP to support farmers and food security and insurance.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris-san, and very good morning to you all. My name is Mihoko Saito from Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, and it is my great pleasure to join the panel this morning from Tokyo, and I'd like to thank EU-ASEAN Business Council and Swiss Re for organizing this webinar. So I think this topic on agricultural insurance is extremely timely, as all the speakers already underlined. And in my brief comment, I would like to introduce what JICA has been doing in Indonesia and how we are promoting public-private partnership or the partnership with the private sector to promote food security. So the government of Indonesia and JICA has been working closely for the last 10 years to develop agricultural insurance scheme. Actually, our cooperation started in 2010 when JICA supported a project on climate change strategies in Indonesia. In this project, we have conducted the pilot for the indemnity-based agricultural insurance, which had provided some inputs for the government to design the current indemnity-based insurance, which started in 2015. So the current JICA project, which we are currently implementing, started in 2017, and we are around the midway. It's a 5-year project. And the main focus of this project is really to strengthen the capacities to implement the current insurance scheme and also to explore the different options, new possibilities of agricultural insurance. So our cooperation is in the threefold. First, project facilitate the consensus building among various stakeholders to formulate agricultural insurance policies. And second, the project support the implementation of the current agricultural insurance scheme, AUTP. And one of the areas that project really focus is the socialization or the dissemination of the agricultural insurance scheme to farmers. So as Ibu Ika and Ibu Ferika mentioned, that it's really a challenge currently to really make farmers to understand why agricultural insurance is important and how it could actually help to increase their resilience. So what project has been doing is we are training the trainers who is actually the extension workers and pest control specialists who goes to the farmers and explain to them the importance of agricultural insurance and encourage to join the agricultural insurance. So we have organized a few trainings in East Java province and South Sulawesi province. And these trainings were attended by extension officers, pest control specialists, and it covered topics like basic insurance operations, loss adjustment, claim handling. We have also did some demonstration for SIAP and Protan, which Ibu Ika have also mentioned. So it is really to familiarize the insurance scheme with the extension officers who would then go and speak to the farmers on the importance. So this is really the grassroots level activities, but these activities, we think it will be a key to really promote agricultural insurance by helping to change the farmer's mindset that actually there is a tool to mitigate the damages which comes from the risks. And it can be covered by the agricultural insurance. And the third point that we are working on with the Indonesian government is to explore the possibility of different options and different new insurance scheme, namely the index-based insurance. So as mentioned by the previous speakers, we are currently working on the feasibility study of area yield index-based insurance. And we are collecting yield data in West Java province and now analyzing and working toward the designing of the actual area yield insurance. And actually in this process, we have benefited greatly from the technical advices from Swiss Re. And actually, I think it is one of the excellent example of partnership with the private sector, because the JICA and Swiss Re have signed the MOU for partnership under this project. And we have been very grateful to support the technical advices with the Swiss Re's global experience. And it has been very, very helpful. And also in this project, we are also exploring the use of remote sensing technologies. And as Mael from Swiss Re mentioned, the satellite images could be a useful tool for the loss assessment and as a tool to monitor the field. So in this project, we are also exploring the use of satellite images to detect paddy areas and also to estimate the field yield in the areas. So these are the, in a nutshell, the activities we are doing in Indonesia. And we have a bit more, I have a lot of example on the public-private partnership, but maybe I will return the floor back to you, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahiko-san. Thank you very much indeed. Pak Noor from Bappenas, so I'd like to bring you into the conversation, please, as well. Perhaps you can share with us some of Bappenas's own strategic plans to help close the protection gap and promote more private sector participation in agricultural insurance, particularly in a post-COVID-19 new normal going forward, and indeed your own perspectives on the role of agricultural insurance in promoting food security and alleviating rural poverty in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. First of all, I would like to thanks to panelists and also participants in this discussion. I'm the deputy director. I'm representing Untitled to continue the discussion since I've been in a meeting. I am responsible for the program and also allocation for the infrastructure sector in agricultural and food division. To answer your question about the importance of the agricultural insurance, I think I agree with you, Verika, and also here from Swiss Re. Who Verika emphasized that the agricultural sector is very related to poverty alleviation and also the climate change action. So I think this context is very related with our discussion. Sorry, my voice is not clear.
That's better now. That's better now. Thank you.
Sorry. Yes. Okay. Is it clear?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So in Indonesia, like Pak Minister and also Pak Arifin said, agricultural insurance mandated by law number 19 2013. So this is the important things that we can consider, that this law is articulated about the farmer protection and also empowerment. So both of protection and also empowerment aspect. So for this, for the protection, we know that the poverty alleviation cannot stand alone. So there are many sectors must coordinate and also make the synchronized program to alleviate the poverty. So agricultural insurance, we can see in the two aspects. The first is about the food and agricultural production. We can anticipate if there is losses or the some failure in the production. So we can change this the cost with the agricultural insurance. And the second aspect is about the farmer itself. So we know in the Indonesian, my Swiss Re from Swiss Re said that 15% GDP is from agricultural sector in Indonesia. Unfortunately, for the labor, is about 30 percent total labor in Indonesia is from agricultural sector. So you can see the imbalance in the GDP and the labor. So this is very related to the poverty. So with agricultural insurance, we can protect the farmer from the failure protection, and also we can enhance the capacity from the farmer to access about the modernization. You know that the modernization in agricultural sector is includes the financial aspect and also agricultural insurance. So I think this is the opportunity for us. With agricultural insurance, we can enhance the farmer access to the modernization. So I think this is the important tool from the agricultural insurance in Indonesia. Thanks.
Thank you, Pak. There are a couple of questions that come up in the Q&A, and one of them is for Ibu Farika at MOF, and I'd just like to pose it. I think we're running over time, so perhaps with a brief response, please. The question was, I understand that government is trying to address unequal distribution of yield index in the region. What are the steps or plans from the government to achieve this? Can you elaborate or give some examples?
Itu untuk saya kan ya? Oh ya, sebetulnya saya berasal dari pusat kebijakan pembiayaan.
Well, because I'm from the capital empowerment and agriculture insurance for the climate change. Well, actually, I'm not the best person to answer this question. However, as far as I know, what the government has been doing is to develop an agricultural insurance that can cover the protection for farmers from peril or crop failure. And of course, we need to engage with the local government. We need to engage the local government, and I hope that those areas with high risk can respond to this program. From the climate change aspect, we are trying to assist this local government to do climate decision, and we also help the local government to improve their capacity. And we provide them with the facilities that we have. We in the central government, we need to work together with the local government. We in the central government, we provide a facility, and we improve their capacity. Other than that, I think the policy is for poverty alleviation that targeting farmers. Yeah, that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu. We are running out of time, unfortunately, and mainly because I think we have some excellent interventions from Ibu Ika and Ibu Farika as well earlier on in the discussion. So I would like to hand to Thomas at Swiss Re just to summarize what we've listened to on this panel.
Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you to the entire panel for this fascinating conversation this morning. You know, it's listening to all of you, it's not easy to be a farmer in Indonesia, right? You have climate change to battle with, you have the health issues, you know, financial issues. But what gives me pause this morning is there's a lot of help. I can really see how the government, the Ministry of Finance, Agriculture, Bappenas, is trying to help with the existing schemes, improving on them, you know, through technology, through the apps, through financial support, but also critically through awareness campaigns. And I think there's also the private sector, like Swiss Re, that is trying to support with our global expertise and help Indonesian farmers as well. So overall, I'm feeling very positive, Chris, after this morning. If you ask me for my 3 takeaways from this morning, I would say number 1, agriculture insurance is critical now more than ever, right? In times of climate change, we need to have agriculture insurance as a major lever in poverty alleviation. And I think all of us here today on this panel have a role in this mission to play and play it well for the sake of the farmers. And finally, as far as Swiss Re is concerned, we're very honored to be able to support Indonesia with our great partnership with our great partner JICA and our knowledge, and we're very much looking forward to continuing supporting Indonesia with our expertise, with the technology that Mel has highlighted in his presentation, and of course also with our capital to protect the farmers when the losses arise. With that, and again with my thanks, back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Thomas. Excellent summary of the discussion there. And it is me to say thank you to all of our panelists and indeed to Swiss Re as well. To our friends from the Indonesian government, thank you for the time today. Terima kasih. To Mahiko-san in Tokyo, arigatou gozaimasu. Thomas, Mel, thank you very much indeed. Everyone, please keep safe, keep well. And I really do hope that we have a good new year and that next year is much better than this year for all of us. So keep safe. God be with you. Thank you.